Hey guys, what's up? Plastic Guy here, coming back with another figure review. Today, we're taking a look at this Ultimate Spider-Man Marvel Legends figure. This was actually one of the first Marvel Legends figures I ever got. This came out in 2016, which is when I first turned 16 and got my first job, which meant I was making my own money and really started my collection because I was able to buy my own figures. Before that, I was really relying on birthdays and Christmases. If I was lucky enough, I'd get my figures then. So yeah, this is really where it all started for me, and luckily it was this awesome Spider-Man. Spider-Man was my favourite superhero, it still is my favourite superhero. So back then, I really was just typing in Spider-Man figure and seeing what came up. I wasn't really using eBay, wasn't really using any online websites, I was just relying on Amazon. And so this was the first thing that came up for £14. It was on sale, which hindsight is a great thing because right now this guy's selling for quite a lot of money. If you can find him, he's really rare, and I think there's a good reason for that. I actually think this figure's really underrated. A lot of the time you see people talking about the pizza Spider-Man or the newest retro Spider-Man, but you hardly ever see any pictures on Instagram of people playing around with this Ultimate Spider-Man or anyone else just giving him the recognition that I think he deserves, and that's why I'm making this video. I want to take a closer look at this guy. I've had him for years, I've actually had him out of the box, and I want to get him out once again for this video and we can see what he's up to. Before we do, guys, let me know down in the comment section below if there's any figures that you have in your collection that you think is underrated. You don't see anyone else talking about them as much as they should be. Let me know down in the comment section below. While you're down there, guys, if you could do me a massive favour, hit that like button. If you're new to the channel, please hit that subscribe button. And let's not wait any longer. Let's take a closer look at this Ultimate Spider-Man figure. And so here is our Ultimate Spider-Man in the packaging. Let's just quickly take a closer look. We get this awesome looking Spider-Man logo up the top here. Really reminds me of the Amazing Spider-Man 2. The Build-A-Figure, Marvel's Venom. So it is a Space Venom Build-A-Figure. And I only have the arm here. The Legend series, the display. And he's looking pretty good in the display here. All accessories on show. Marvel Spider-Man, Ultimate Spider-Man, it says here. I think it's referring to Miles in the wave as well. We've got Peter Parker Spider-Man on this side, Miles Morales Spider-Man on this side, and that is such a nice Miles figure. Really wish I picked that up at the time. He goes for around £50 at the moment. But I do want to compare this figure to some others later on, including the newest Gamerverse Miles. Marvel Legends series up here, really cool product image. With amazing agility and wall-crawling skills, these young web slingers take down the bad guys. And then here are the rest of the characters in the wave. As I said, Miles, pretty cool Electro. We get the two Spider-Women and then this Hobgoblin figure. If I could have any figure from before, Hobgoblin's definitely a contender. That figure is so awesome, and that newest one just didn't cut the mustard. But anyway, let's take a closer look at Spider-Man. And here is our Ultimate Spider-Man out of the box, and he's looking really cool. I have noticed, however, the legs are warped a wee bit, probably just from the position he's been in the box. I don't know if it makes it worse that I took him out the box, had him on display, then put him back in. I don't know why that would make it any worse, but it's something to think about if you are looking to pick this figure up and he's been in box all these years. You might find the same issue, the legs being warped, but they're not too bad at the moment. Hopefully they don't get any worse. This figure comes with the alternative Peter head, which I absolutely adore. We'll take a closer look at that in a second. And he comes with all the Spider-Man hands that you would want from a Spider-Man Marvel Legends figure. So to kick it off, let's just take a closer look at the ones we've got at the side here. We get this whipping hand, nice paint application all over. We get the wall crawling hand, and this is why I would say this is one of the best Spider-Man figures. We get all the hands we need, the whipping, the wall crawling, and the fisted. The retro Spider-Man didn't come with the wall crawling hands. I'm still salty about it. This figure does. We get the fisted hand here, which look really good. And then of course we get a whipping and a wall crawling already slotted in the figure. So yeah, good assortment of hands that we've been missing from recent Spider-Man figures. And then we get this Peter Parker head sculpt. So I will put this on the figure later on in the video. because I do have another Peter Parker head sculpt I want to compare to this guy. But this is, I absolutely love this. I think it looks awesome. It captures that feel of Ultimate Spider-Man so well. It's obviously a younger Peter Parker, and he's a cooler Peter Parker, and you can see that in like the hairstyle. The hair looks awesome on this sculpt. I really, really like it. The sculpt's great, the colours they've used are great, the eyes look pretty good. This one is a wee bit looking off to the other way, but it's not a big deal. Kind of cool colour they've used as well, it's kind of browny gold. And yeah, I think this is just a great Peter Parker head sculpt. I've mentioned in videos before how I love getting figures with their alter ego. So if it's Wolverine, you get the Logan head sculpt. If it's Spider-Man, you get the Peter Parker, Batman, Bruce Wayne. And this is a great example of that. We get this lovely Spider-Man, and then we get this perfect Ultimate Peter Parker head sculpt to really add to the figure. And then the figure himself just looks so nice. We get this Ultimate Spider-Man head sculpt, which I think looks fantastic. It's kind of similar to the Pizza Spider-Man head sculpt, but not too similar. There are differences there, and I think it just looks really nice. The lines are really crisp, the eyes are really big. Of course, if you're not a fan of Ultimate Spider-Man overall, you don't really like the younger Peter Parker, the smaller build, the large eyes and everything, you're maybe not going to like this figure as much as I do, but I just think they've nailed this here. The lines here you can see just went a wee bit over. For the most part though, pretty spot on. You can see just a wee bit there. Nothing that I'm really bothered about. I think it looks great. The rest of the body, we get this smaller Spider-Man logo in the chest area here. Once again, a wee mark, but not a big deal. Yeah, cool looking Spider-Man logo. Once again, the lines are really crisp all over. I do really like the red and blue they've used as well. They used this mold in a 2-pack with Vulture, I believe, and I think the blue was slightly different. I do prefer this blue. I think this one looks better. From the pictures I've seen from that Ultimate Spider-Man in the 2-pack, I do think this one looks a bit better paint-wise, but the sculpt is the exact same. And really nice back logo here. Just really comic accurate. I absolutely love it. And not much going on in the legs. There's not really much sculpting or anything going on. Nothing that stands out. To me anyway. I'm not sure if I'm missing anything, but it does the trick. I think it looks perfect. The legs here, once again, pretty simple, but it's done effectively. It looks really nice. And as I mentioned, the legs are sort of warped a wee bit, but it doesn't look too bad actually. You can see it does go like that, but not a big deal. Yeah, I absolutely love this Spider-Man figure. Let's take a closer look at this guy and compare him to some of the other more recent Spider-Man figures. And here is our Ultimate Spider-Man next to the Pizza Spider-Man. Everybody loved and still does love the Pizza Spider-Man. I never picked this up at release and I never got the chance to get the Pizza Spider-Man for a good price. This is a knockoff, this is a replica, and it's a pretty good replica. I might make a video on its own taking a closer look at him, because I have two knockoffs in the collection. It is the Pizza Spider-Man and the PS4 Spider-Man. Both figures that shot up crazy on the aftermarket. Prices that I just never want to pay for a single figure. We're talking £70, £80. And so yeah, I cheated and I went for a wee knockoff. And yeah, I don't want to promote knockoffs at all. I always try and get the retail figures, the original figures, for better prices on the aftermarket. But I just could never find a Pizza Spider-Man. I wanted the look of the Pizza Spider-Man in the collection, and I'd much rather spend £15 knowing it's a knockoff and admitting that it's a knockoff, rather than spending the £70 to £80 for the original. They've done a good job. You can see the paint's faded in some areas. There's a lot of scuffing, but for the most part, yeah, I'd rather pick this guy up for 15 than spend the 80. I might make a video looking at both the PS4 and this Pizza Spider-Man and show the downfalls of the knockoffs. If that's something you're interested in, let me know down in the comment section below. But here he is next to the Ultimate Spider-Man. As we can see, they're pretty similar, kind of slim builds, except the Pizza Spider-Man is an older Peter Parker. He's a lot taller, he's more grown up. And even though this is a knockoff, I have seen the original Pizza Spider-Man. I don't think they're too different, and I'm willing to say I prefer the Ultimate Spider-Man. Personally, I prefer the look of him. He comes with that Peter Parker head sculpt, which the Pizza Spider-Man didn't come with an alternative head sculpt. Oh, well, it did, that's a lie. It came with the half-mast head sculpt, but it didn't come with a Peter Parker head sculpt. However, that half-mast one is really nice. So, I don't know, yeah, both really good Spider-Man figures. I think personal preference is going to come into play here, and I'm going to say I prefer the Ultimate Spider-Man. And then here is the Ultimate Spider-Man next to everyone's favourite, the retro carded Spidey, and I love both of these figures. I think this does a great job of showing a younger Spider-Man, and this guy could easily grow up and become this iteration of Spider-Man. They are both great versions of the character. However, the Ultimate Spider-Man wins it with accessories. We get all the hands we want, and we get a Peter Parker head sculpt. This figure infamously did not include wall crawling hands, and it also didn't include a Peter Parker head sculpt, or it included the alternative head with very slightly different lenses. I preferred this head sculpt with the more tighter white lenses as opposed to the other one, and yeah, it's good that we got an alternative head with this one, but you can't beat the Peter Parker head sculpt, come on. However, Retro Spidey definitely wins on articulation and sculpt. I think overall, this guy, you can get into some fantastic poses, and he'll just slightly beat the Ultimate Spider-Man here. And then I really wanted to compare these Peter Parker head sculpts. Once again, this is an older Peter Parker, this is the younger version. I personally prefer this Peter Parker head sculpt. I think he looks really cool. I love the hairstyle on him. And this is a great Peter Parker head sculpt as well. It's just, once again, I feel like we could see this Peter Parker grow older and take the form of this guy here. So it's a cool young and old version of the character. I don't think one is better than the other. It is just personal preference. And I absolutely love this Peter Parker head sculpt. And then here is Spidey next to one of his best villains, Venom. These guys I think look great next to one another. I do like the younger, smaller Peter next to this massive, muscly Venom. I think they are great looking opponents, and I think they'll make some great photos for Instagram. And then last up we have our newer Miles Morales Gamerverse Marvel Legends figure. And he is standing a wee bit too tall to match with Peter here. And also, I just feel like this Miles is just a standard above the rest. They really went all out with this Miles figure. All the hands, the alternative head, the sculpt, it's pinless. It is honestly one of the best Marvel Legends ever, in my opinion. And he does look alright next to Spidey here, but I don't know, they just don't gel as well as I'd hoped. I've just noticed he's kind of rocking the same hairstyle as Spider-Gwen from Into the Spider-Verse. But to try and run over all the articulation on this figure here, we can get the head looking that far up, which is great for your Spider-Man figure. You can move it all the way down, left and right. We'll pivot a wee bit as well. Get the arm moving about that far up. Don't think it'll go any further. That far into the body, backwards, forwards, all the way around, upper bicep swivel, double jointed elbow here. Get the wrist moving backwards and forwards, rotate that round as well. Yeah, nothing in the forearm, same articulation here. It doesn't have any butterfly joints, which is a downfall of this figure. But moving on, get this great ab crunch, get him moving about that far back. Let's see, about that far forward, really nice. We can move him around at the waist as well, get his leg kicking about that far forward, that far back. He's got this upper thigh swivel, double jointed knees. We can move him around at the calf area as well. Move the foot back, move it forward. Oh, it's a bit tight, but it will move forward, and we get that ankle pivot as well. And so there we have it for this Ultimate Spider-Man Marvel Legends figure, and I think I'm very lucky that this was the first Marvel Legends figure I got, because it is an absolutely fantastic entry piece into Marvel Legends figures. Before that, I was really only getting Marvel Select. I had the Amazing Spider-Man movie figure, and I had an Iron Man from maybe the first Avengers film, and I did really like Marvel Select. I didn't really know anything about Marvel Legends until I picked up this figure here, and what a great starting figure to get, yeah. I know I'm being a bit biased because Spider-Man is my favourite character. This was my first Marvel Legends figure, but I do think he is really great. Some butterfly joints would definitely make the figure better, get a greater range of movement in the arm area. Of course, if he was pinless, that would help as well, but this figure came out back in 2016 when that just wasn't really a thing in Marvel Legends. The paint's really nice, the sculpt is great. As I've mentioned, I really like the head sculpt. Great range of hands. It's got everything that you want from a Spider-Man figure, and for that reason I do really think it is the most underrated Spider-Man Marvel Legends, because all you ever hear is people praising the pizza Spider-Man and loving the retro Spider-Man, which is fine. Those are both fantastic figures, but in my personal opinion, I think this figure is better than the pizza Spider-Man. And maybe even the retro. I'm going to go out and say it. I think I do prefer this guy. He's fun. He's got everything you want. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments section below. While you're down there, guys, if you could do me a massive favour, hit that like button. If you're new to the channel, please hit that subscribe button, and feel free to hop on over to the channel page because there are plenty of Spider-Man videos up over there. I'll leave the link to my Instagram in the description below, where hopefully I'll have some really nice photos of this guy up on there, so feel free to check that out. With all that being said, guys, thank you so much for watching this video here, and as always, I'll catch you on the flip-flop later. Cheers.